Welcome back to According to Carlo. I have a special guest today, Mr. Chris Slightum of Royal LePage Signature. Really happy to introduce him, and we're going to have a little chat about what's going on in the marketplace, and also a chat about from our relative perspectives on our brokerages. Chris's brokerage is probably exactly 10 times the size of my brokerage, but maybe I have 10 times the problems. I don't know. That seems to be a discussion that we seem to have fun with. So first of all, let me introduce Chris Slightum. And Chris, tell us a little bit about when you got into the real estate business and how that happened.
Yeah, thanks, Carlo. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I got in the business in the very early 90s, and my family's been in the business we're just celebrating our 60th year in the industry. My grandfather and my father started the company back in 1965 and started with 8 people back in the day, and now we're just over 1,600 folks under the Royal LePage brand, and we affiliated with Royal LePage in 2001 and have had a great success story, and that's how I got the opportunity to meet you. I mean,
I guess I met you in 2004 when I bought my franchise. So 2004, how big? You hadn't moved into the Don Mills office yet.
No, we were in our original office at the time, and I think we were about 180 agents at that point.
And then I remember you showed me your new space on the Don Mills, at the shops at Don Mills.
Yes.
And I came in there and I go, oh my goodness, Chris has lost his mind.
Yes. Yeah, I had. Yes.
And I said, no, Carlo, we're going full bore. We're going to go with it. And you guys done an unbelievable job. I think I'm not trying to be patronizing, but it's a model franchise.
Thank you.
And you guys have done an amazing job. And then you bought a Century 21 office in Mississauga, a fairly large office. But then you replicated your space again and built out, I think it was 16,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And did it again, which is fantastic. And then more recently, right downtown.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So now we've got the 3 main locations, a couple of little satellite offices for teams, and it's worked out really well. We came up with the ideas that we wanted to have really high service levels in each of our locations. So instead of having, a number of smaller offices spread all over the place, we decided to go with really core locations that could service greater, areas and provide a very, very high level of service in each of the locations. So it really was a service focus that drew that concept, because we wanted to be able to afford to deliver really high quality. And our industry, the way it's evolved, as you and I have talked about a number of times over the years, is it's become a lower margin business, frankly, and so you have to have economies of scale to make it work.
For sure.
And that really, we never planned to be this big, and I'll say that very upfront. But you have to remember, when we embarked on this change of space in Don Mills in 2008, the industry had only about 35,000 people in
the GTA.
Agents, in the GTA. Now it's over 70,000. So you think about that, we've naturally grown. Part of it has just been natural, growth of the industry, and a part of it, of course, has been our expansion plans.
Yeah, it's you've done an amazing job. And I actually, when I saw your space and we moved into our new space in 2011, I used your designer.
Yes, you did.
Michael Apigian, I believe.
That's right.
And so he did a great job at our office, which we just recently renovated once again.
Yeah.
To keep up with the times.
Yeah, he's done all 3 of our locations, and it's been great.
So what I've always found fascinating, I just read a book called Who Not How. And I think of you when I thought of you when I listened to the book. I actually listened on Audible, and it's all about who, not how. And in order to get to the size that you're at, you really got to have help from who.
Yes.
And so you've been a master at that. You and your brother have done an incredible job at having the right people in place to get to that level. And I've always admired that. And you and I have had these discussions, and I'm sort of looking for some who's right now to help me on the who, not hows.
Yeah.
But it's always impressed me on how you've managed. And your people have always been, not because you're sitting here, but your people have always been gracious to me. You've always been gracious to me, and for whenever I needed something or we ever had to chat about things, and it's always been great.
I appreciate that.
Your business model.
And likewise, you've been the same to me as well.
Well, thank you. Let's get into a little bit about the industry itself. I think you and I although I'm 1/10 the size, I'm still a huge believer in sort of the legacy model of office space and people there. And, I've always said I'll never have an office where I don't have someone answering the phone. That's just been my motto.
Mhm.
I just don't want an office where there's not an office space where I get to go in and see my staff. I want to talk to my staff. I want to be with my staff.
Mhm.
I want to be with the agents. And I know this model, this sort of, the cloud model has become quite popular.
Yes.
And I don't see the allure to it, but
Mhm.
hey, there's room for everybody. There's room for every model.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen any evidence, in my opinion, that it has made anybody more productive,
Mhm.
more profitable. And I still find that when people come and speak to me from those models, they really do enjoy coming into the office and seeing our space. And so we have like 10,000 square feet of ground floor retail with unlimited surface parking. I think that's been very popular.
Absolutely.
But your model, it's similar, just much, much bigger. But again, it's still that legacy type model where we're coming into the office.
Yes.
And your office space, from what you've told me, is that there's a huge demand for it.
Huge. We need more office space. Technically speaking, like we have a list of people who are lined up for office space. And I think to your point, Carlo, like humans are naturally people. Like like we're wired that way to be social and interactive. And I respect, look, there are certain times, let's say, that working from home, at your dining room table or your home office that you have set up makes a lot of sense too. You can put your head down, no distractions. But to do that throughout the whole year, I think is challenging. And we learned that in COVID, and we're seeing it now, even 5 years after, the main event of COVID, we're still seeing the fallout of that situation. And I'm seeing that people want to interact. They want to come in. They want to feel the energy. They want to be able to talk to the support team that's there, whether it's the design people or the front desk or our back office or the management team. And people come in, or just being in the environment and listening to, a conversation that's going on and interacting with their fellow, realtors and hearing like, oh, what's, even just like commiserating in the market like we're having today. It's nice to, what do they say? Misery loves company.
Yeah.
Right. So even just to come in and have a coffee and shoot the breeze a bit, I think it's a super natural human need to get up and get motivated and get out there. And I think that's why it's been so successful. And because we have we have a larger scale operation, but it's the same philosophy as yours, right? Is create a very high quality environment with super high quality resources and a place that you'll want to come into and spend some time. Like whether it's a cool, cafe space or lounge area or incredible, team of support staff. There's value there, and that's why we've got a high demand, and we've got people in every single day with tremendous energy, in our office space.
And you don't have an empty office, I presume.
We do not have an empty office. I just came from our Shops at Don Mills location, and here we are, in July. It's a hot, beautiful day out there today, and you'd think people would be off, maybe distracted with other things, and it's busy. Like it's busy, and that's the other benefit of having the scale that we have is there's always people around. And that was one of the theories behind, how we wanted to operate.
100%. It makes people want to come in. And I'm encouraging people all the time. I've even told agents that have offices, if I don't see you in, I want you to give up the office.
Oh, we're the same way.
Because I want to see you in. I want to see you using it.
Yeah.
Even though they're productive, I want to see them in and using it. And believe me, it's just incredible how much interaction there is and how that, especially in the times that we're having now, people want to talk about some of the experiences they have. Look, you started in the early 90s. I was well into it by then. And the early 90s were rough. I always get in trouble at the office because I go, oh, Carlo, you're an old guy talking about the early 90s, always talking about, and it was a rough time. What year did you actually start?
91.
Okay. So now you started, like it started to get bad in 1990.
Yes.
And so you came in right at the beginning of the heart of it.
Yeah.
And like I said at my previous podcast, it was the worst investing that happened to me. I had made all that money in the late 80s. And then in the 90s, I lost everything.
Yep.
And I had to learn what the real world was like. And I think that was a great experience. But that's why this market that we're sort of faced with now is not that it's not a big deal, but it's not something I haven't seen or you haven't seen.
Absolutely.
And so what I try to tell people is that come and talk to me and I'll tell you what you need to do. Sometimes they don't like to hear what we have to say because it's just the reality of the situation, but we've been through it. And it's amazing the last 25 years, agents who only started 25 years ago, really, other than the 2008 crisis, which only lasted 6 months in Canada, they really don't know anything about this market.
We had a 20-year run in real estate, which is unheard of.
It's unheard of.
And if you haven't, and if you've been in the business, I mean, to think about that, if you've been in the business less than 25 years almost now, right? Less than 25 years, you have not really yet until today experienced a true correction. It's not like you just got in 3 years ago. And I mean, yes, that's a learning experience too, but
no question.
25 years of, effectively, or at least 23 anyway, before the downturn started. That's incredible.
Correct.
So, my dad always said to me, look, you never really learn from your wins, right?
Correct.
Right.
It's a great
isn't
line.
That great. We're knocking it out of the park here. Well, yeah, with a tailwind of, an incredible amount of business happening, like you better have been knocking it out of the park.
Correct.
But where you learn from are the challenges you face, are the mistakes you make, are the market corrections that really, teach you what life's all about. Like you just said, like when you entered the 90s, you only knew what you knew at the time. But I mean, knowing you and over the years, I know how, focused and diligent you are. So there was no doubt you were going to survive, right? But it was a learning experience in the 90s. That is why you are where you are today. And the success that you've had isn't just because you had we had a 20-year tailwind run there.
100%.
Like it's because of what was learned in the toughest moments that are why, we can sit here today with confidence about what the future is going to be like and know that, behind the scenes, look, we're all paddling hard and grinding, and it's not a lot of fun when transaction volume is down 35, 40%. And people are struggling from a business standpoint, but we also know we did it. We came through it last time with less information than we have this time.
Absolutely.
Right. And so now we're ready to go. Like we're like, okay, we've got the playbook. We have the playbook to navigate through this. And we're, as you are, we're happy to share it with anybody who asks.
So when I'm in some interviews, sometimes new agents or experienced agents, they say to me, why should I, what do you have to offer? And, I'm not trying to sound, too egotistical here, but I always say, well,
yes,
you get me. And I go, why? Like, okay, Royal LePage is Royal LePage, which is great. I got great space, great, all that kind of stuff. I got great staff, but ultimately I always say, if you're coming here, you get me.
Yes.
I've got 40 years of successes and mistakes.
Yeah.
And failures.
Yes.
And I tell them, I say, so just think, I wish I could speak to someone on a daily basis that had been through that.
Yeah.
And I sold every type of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I sold condos. I sold industrial land. I sold investment land. So I did residential, of course. And so that experience, I try to tell them, look, that's what I'm selling here, is that I'm offering you that information of 40 years of that experience. And so, it resonates with a lot of people, not everybody, but it resonates with a lot of people. But that's really ultimately what people like you and I have to offer.
Well, I think it resonates more now than it has in the last little while.
True.
Anyway.
Very
because,
true.
I can remember 5, 6, 7 years ago when the market's bubbling along and everybody.
What do I need you for?
Yeah, that everybody thinks they figured it out. I said, no problem. As long as you're putting some money away and getting ready for the rainy days. A lot of people laugh. It's, oh yeah, it'll be fine. Real estate always goes up. I said, no, okay, well, just remember I said this, right? And be prepared because it comes. I don't. If I knew when, I'd be. I wouldn't be here. I'd be, on my private island in the Mediterranean. But I can tell you it's coming at some point in time. And here we are. It's I'm the first to admit, and people tease me because I always thought it was coming sooner than it did. But the way the global World Bank is working and the different federal banks around the world, I think they kept managing the economy so it didn't really correct during some of the opportunities that I think, in that, like, if they'd had to behave like it did in the past and they didn't use, lower interest rates and quantitative easing and all these fancy, mechanisms they have, it would have corrected before that. But I was wrong. They kept it going along until they couldn't anymore. And now we're, but we knew it was going to happen. So, we prepared for it, not the day before it happened. We've been preparing for it for 20,
100%.
30, 40,
and
50 years.
Look, I say I made mistakes. I thought for sure 2025 spring was going to take off. That was my guess.
Yeah, me too.
And we're wrong. So we learned again.
Mr. Trump arrived and changed the plan for us, right?
Changed the plan, all right.
Yeah.
That's for sure. We won't get into politics.
No, I don't need to know. Well, no, but it's a fact.
No, it's a fact. It's a fact.
That's all. I mean, I don't care you like him, you don't like. It's not about that. It's just that the policy of trade renegotiation.
It has changed a lot.
It's changed confidence in consumers.
It's changed
because
a lot.
we saw it in October, November of 2024 of last fall.
It was starting to show some signs.
We had 40% increase in transaction volume year over year from 23 to 24.
It had showed those signs.
And we have our rates are solid right now. Like the fundamentals, think about it,
still there,
as we keep talking about, are there. They're all good. Absolutely. Except for one very large issue, which is affecting our everybody's feelings right now about their confidence in the future and potentially our economy.
And I think, my personal opinion, not to be too positive, I think that's all going to settle down.
Agreed.
It's all going to find its water level.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the spring is going to be a good time.
Spring of 26?
Spring of 26. That's my guess.
Okay.
But I guess
I'm going to write that down.
I guessed wrong. Yeah, well, you can write it down. I guessed wrong last time, but we'll see what happens.
Look, I feel the same way you do. I think, but I also think it's not going to be, like, when I think about, the market turning around, it's not going to take off like a rocket.
No.
I really think it's going to be, but you're going to feel more confidence.
But Chris, if we
growth.
we're not going to have the 35-40% decline, but if it's 10 to 20% below the peak, that's a nice roll.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But and so I think that as a realtor, as a professional in the business, though, you have to have a long view. And I've been saying this to anybody who cares to listen. People are probably tired of hearing it, but we have to just take the long view. Like, we're still helping people buy and sell and lease and invest right now. But as you said, the transaction volume's down. But if you're taking the long view and you're saying, okay, there is opportunity, I'm going to do my very best right now to help as many people make great decisions as I possibly can. You're going to come out the other side of this better prepared, better at your job as a professional, and you're going to capture market share along the way, because there's going to be a number of people in our industry that aren't going to make it out the other end. No question.
I mean, I they don't really like this line that I give some of my agents, but when I do my little rants at our meetings, I say, look, I know the Toronto Real Estate Board reported only 6,000 sales, let's say, last month.
Yes.
I go, well, that's 12,000 ends, correct? So there isn't zero happening.
That's right.
I said that's 12,000 ends.
Yes.
So wouldn't you have liked to just gotten 2 of those ends?
Yep.
And 2 of those ends every month? It's 24 ends. Yep. That's in today's marketplace. When you and I started, I sold my first house for $99,000. And then I sold many in the late 80s condos for $90,000, $100,000. I sold a ton of them.
Yeah.
Okay. And we were all at 50-50 commission splits in those days.
Yeah.
So, it's the business is out there, Chris. The business is out there.
It is.
It's just,
now, it's tough.
It's tough. But if you're working at it, the ends are there.
Yeah.
Now, what I think that I continuously coach my agents on is they want that instant deal.
Yeah.
They come to me and they go, oh, I've had this listing for 3 weeks. What do I do?
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
I go, well, in 1992, I had a $149,000 semi for 6 months.
Yeah.
And when
we had bought a few of those.
And when we sold it, like, we had a party.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's everything is relative.
And you made $3,000.
Correct. Correct. So, everything is relative. But it's just coaching them, and they get down, and they just want that easy. And then the communication issue. Back then, Chris, we didn't have, I had a pager. So I got paged.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, I got paged, and I would call the person.
Yeah.
No texting. No, you call and you speak. And so I think some things really honestly, I know social media is great. It's fantastic. This stuff is great, but the communication has really fallen. And I think, as Brian Buffini would say, even turkeys can fly in a hurricane, right?
Yes.
And so we were a bunch of turkeys flying in that hurricane.
Yeah.
But we need to be a little bit more diligent in terms of communication.
Yeah.
And if I express this constantly with my agents, is just communicate better. Communicate better with your clients.
Yeah.
Tell them the facts. We send out, we do a complete array of the stats every month. And I go, these are where the numbers are. This is what's going on. Talk to your clients, give them the facts.
Absolutely.
And listings are selling. Properly priced listings are selling.
Yeah. Properly priced, properly presented.
Correct.
Yeah, Carlo, I think the challenge is right now is that there isn't enough business to go around for everybody. We know that.
Correct.
But if you're doing, like we have, as I know you do in your company as well, we have some of our top agents having their best years ever.
I have a couple that are doing fantastic.
Because they're doing exactly what we're talking about. We call it our connectivity plan, which is exactly what you're talking about. You've got to get deeply connected with everybody you know, with new people you're meeting. It's a relationship business. We say we're in the real estate business,
it's never changed.
I always say, look, we're in the people business is what it is, right? It really, like, you're taking care of people. You're taking care. Now they're making the single largest financial decision, generally speaking, in their lives. And that's a big deal, but you're helping people with very important decisions. So in a time like this, being incredibly knowledgeable about what's going on in the market and being able to articulate that consistently to everybody somebody's going to say, hey, that sounds interesting. Like, I don't know, Carl, I don't know how you feel about this. Like right now, I don't think consumers really understand how good values are and rates relative to where they have been in the last 5 years.
Absolutely.
Like I think, like, if we're
and I don't think our industry is good at explaining that.
Well, I don't think, it's very hard because even when we are explaining it, there's so much other noise out there about other things going on in the world, the message gets lost. So unless you can really get face to face or connected directly with people and say, hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything right now, but I want you to know what the opportunity looks like in today's market. And we're doing the math on buying as first-time buyers are buying condos that have now dropped down in price. Rates have dropped down as well, and it's lining up with pretty much what rent would cost. So when that starts to happen,
big change.
We're right at we're either nearing the bottom or right at the bottom. And I want to pick you're never going to pick the bottom, but we're darn close because of that reality. Yeah. So if we could get that conversation out, that level of education to our sphere of influence, our clients, that's going to make a difference in somebody's life to say, oh, really? I didn't realize that, because all I hear is these, headlines about tariffs and trade wars and, real estate not doing well. And yes, we've gone through a needed correction, but right now, like the time, like I know I sound like I'm trying to sell real estate, which is, people, well, yeah, but you're a real estate guy. You're supposed to say that. No, just look at the math and you decide on your own if the time is right for you.
Because if things do happen next spring, they're going to go, oh, I should have got in. Now there's multiple offers.
Correct.
Now there's all these things. So 100%, Chris. And that's right. But having those conversations with their clients, I think people like you and me have to help them with, because they haven't had to have those conversations.
No.
And then of course the tough conversations with listings. Obviously, I tell everyone, get as many listings as you can, because that's where the business is.
Yep.
But you also need to manage expectations.
100%.
And you need to explain to the clients where you're at, don't tell people what they want to hear. Tell them the truth, and they'll love you for it. They may not love you right away, and sometimes they don't always love you for it. But in the end, the truth is the truth, and that will always come out. Mm-hmm. And when they know that you've spoken the truth and you get the deal done, I think they'll be so loyal. And they'll be referring you constantly. Exactly. That's all you can ask for.
That's all people want. It's like anything in life, right? You want to be treated fairly. You want somebody to tell you the truth and take care of you, right? And if you get that and you do that for your clients, the opportunity is massive right there, right now. And we're seeing, I mean, I'm seeing, and I know you're seeing those agents that are really engaging, that are appreciating this reality. They're doing incredible things right now.
No question about it. All the top agents just accelerate in these markets.
Yes.
And they're the ones that have the momentum when the spring shows up.
Yeah.
And I keep telling that to my, the agents that aren't doing as well. I even had a meeting and I brought in my top 10 agents and I just asked them just to come to this meeting.
Yes.
They didn't know why. And they go, why are you asking us? And I said, well, so there was about 40 or 50 people in the room. And I said, so-and-so, tell me why you're having a great year. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And they got to hear about it. And then I'd say, okay, the next person, I said, tell me why you're having a great year and tell me what you're doing. And so I did that to show people that this isn't all doom and gloom.
No.
It's effort, it's discipline, but the results are there. The results are available to be there. So, anyway, tell me, let's conclude with this. Tell me what you're finding today is a daily challenge as a broker owner, especially the size of brokers that you have.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Carlo. And I think really what the challenge is people are stressed and they aren't, they're worried about what's, how long is this going to go? And so, we are every day spending time helping our clients are worried. Some of our realtors are certainly worried because it's their livelihood, that's a challenge right now. And so we're spending a lot of time sitting down with folks, sharing the facts, about what's going on in the market, similar to what we just talked about here now, that, this is a cycle. Here's the reasons why we do a lot of data analytics like you do. We bring out the charts, we bring out the data. This is just factual numbers from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board's Market Watch every month. We package them in a way that you can actually understand them because it's just a lot of numbers on pages, I find coming in the format that it does. And we help people understand where we've been, where we've come to today and likely where we're heading. And so, when we have those conversations, I can see kind of a little bit of levity coming, a little bit of, okay, take a deep breath. We're going to make it through. I can tell you stories about, 5 major moments in time that our business has gone through over the last 60 years, all for different reasons, but very similar behavior of market that we're in today.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Right.
Yeah,
so we can walk you through that and talk about that and really help people say, okay, like to your point, everybody needs a quick, like I need my house sold today, or I need I appreciate that. And some people are under a lot of stress, but we have to just come up with a plan and an understanding that you may not sell your house today, but let's look at the next 30 to 60 days and come up with a plan to make sure that we have the best result. Realtors on the business side, Chris, I got to get some business going here. I think I'm doing the right thing. Well, let's analyze what you're doing. Maybe we can fine tune some of your focus of your energy. We can change your mindset a little bit because it's super tough. We're all human. We all have good days and bad days, and it can be dangerous. You can get into that lull and that slump and really get down on yourself. Let's try and change our mindset a little bit and really walk people through, okay, here's an opportunity. Here's how, if you approach it this way over the next 90 to 120 days, I'm confident you're going to be able to turn your business in the right direction if we execute on these things consistently.
For sure.
And that is the critical message.
100%.
Right? You've got to be willing to get out of bed every day and execute consistently. And if you do that, it's easier said than done. I know, I'm sure somebody listening is going to go, yeah, sure, Chris,
But it's as I said to the previous person I'm speaking to, the formula is not a rocket science. It's pretty simple formula, what we have to do. It's just, as human beings, it's hard for us to do.
Yes.
It's hard for us to get our butts off the ground. It's hard for us to create those relationships. I always say personal relationships are not necessarily natural for a lot of people, but that's what this business is. We don't sell. People think our business is selling homes. It's not. Our business is developing relationships. Mm-hmm. Homes just happens to be the byproduct, or properties happens to be the byproduct of the service that we're offering, which is just a personal service. And that personal connection is so key But I find it's hard. From a human standpoint, it's hard. And that's why, the business is still pretty concentrated in terms of who succeeds. The top 15, 20% are still succeeding.
Yes.
And the other 80, 85% are challenged because it's not a natural thing. And I always tell people, I've had relatives, I've had friends in the business who quit.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, you're normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just know that you're normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
The challenges that you're having are normal.
Yes.
If you're one of the 10, 15%, you're an outlier, and good for you. Congratulations. Yes. But if you can't make it, you're just a normal person.
Yes.
And so and I always tell people, look, who do you want to be? Do you want to be in that 10, 15%? If you do, here's your formula. Simple, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
And the people that have that mindset in the 10, 15, 20%, they do it. It's remarkable how that happens.
Some people, it comes more naturally than others. And
Correct.
Some people learn it and work into it because we've seen that as well, right? I mean, a lot of people have come through our doors over the last, number of years, right? And so we've seen it. And again, that's the value of experience you touched on earlier as well. Like we can really, when we say these things, like we're seeing it every day. That's the beauty of the position that you and I sit in, is we get to see what success looks like every single day. It's not rocket science, like you said, but you have to choose your hard, right? Yep. What's hard? Well, it's hard not, being successful. What does that mean? Well, I'm struggling paying my bills. I'm struggling, with financially. Well, you want hard. That's hard.
No kidding. Of course.
So why don't we choose the hard, which is, picking up the phone and talking to people, which can be hard too. Like you said, if you're not naturally inclined to be chatty and want to have a conversation. But, I heard Tom Ferry, who we work a lot with, said this at the start of the year to us. He said, you know what? These are not sales calls we're making. They're service calls.
100%. Fabulous line.
Right? They're not, they're just service calls. They're, hey, check this out. One of my top guys right now, one of the top guys in the country, he's making clarity calls. He's talking to everybody in his database saying, hey, do you need a clarity call just to understand what's going on?
Brilliant.
With your real estate,
Brilliant.
With the market. And he's booking appointments left, right, and center because that's what it is. That's why I keep saying all I want to do is educate people, Carlo. That's it. Whether it's agents on how to be successful in the business or clients and consumers on really what's going on in the market, and then let them decide
100%.
on what's right for them.
Yeah. And it's fabulous advice. It's what we have to keep pushing. But again, we always find that there's that percentage that do it.
100%. That's life. Right?
Yeah.
And in all facets of life.
Correct. Well, listen, thank you, Chris.
Pleasure.
That was great. And thank you to our listeners. I just want to thank Chris Slightum again of Royal LePage Signature. This is a typical conversation that Chris and I would have when we call each other as broker owners.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We pick up the phone and say, Chris, especially during COVID too, we had a few of these calls. We even had some Zooms. And this is what I wanted to keep it real and keep it. This is a very frank conversation. There might have been a few expletives that we won't put in here, but when we're having a conversation on the phone. So I just want everyone to know that this is a typical conversation between people like Chris and I. So again, thank you, Chris, for being here.
Appreciate it.
And thank you to all the listeners and hope you enjoyed it.